stay with that theme now and talk about how many businesses have lost money due to load shedding, and with no clear end in sight to the crisis, a lot of them are panicking about the future tonight. Let's talk about the options available to government, especially renewables and solar energy. Joining me for that conversation is Niveshen Govender from the South African Photovoltaic Industry Association. Quite a lot to take in. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for coming in, Niveshen. So that is quite a name that your organization has. Break it down in the simplest language for us.
Firstly, thank you for having me, Tembekile. I think the Solar PV Industry Association, as it's better known as, speaks about photovoltaics in terms of solar PV panels that you put up, not only in your homes but also on utility scale. So it's basically converting the sun's energy into electricity.
Would I be right to say that yours is an organization that is pro-private sector involvement in the energy space? That's what you're pushing for, am I right?
That's correct. So as an industry association, we represent over 300 companies within the solar PV sector across the value chain of solar PV.
I was going through some of the release that you put out to the media as the conversation continues about load shedding. 24 hours ago, we were sitting in a stage 6 load shedding, unprecedented. You say that with solar energy, we could have a decent mix within a 12-month period. But what would that look like for you and I in areas like Hyde Park and Sandton, where we are tonight, and people in perhaps Khayelitsha in the Cape and a village in the Eastern Cape?
Yeah, so good. I think it's important for us to start with the understanding that we are in an energy crisis with regards to electricity, and simple problems like conveyor belt breakdowns, weather conditions, wet colds simply won't cut it anymore. So we need to be looking at solutions, and renewable energy has always been the solution. We've always been on the sideline waiting for green lights from government for us to implement. Renewable energy in terms of embedded generation on small scale is what we're talking about, is actually only one solution that we're putting forward. And this is a solution at low cost or at zero cost to government and can be done very quickly. The application is widespread, so we can do this through malls, through factories, through industry process plants, distribution centers, data centers, you name them, the list goes on. So this can be done in a village somewhere in South Africa, in Khayelitsha as an example, here in Hyde Park as well. The application is endless.
The integrated resource plan sets out quite an ambitious target as far as renewables are concerned. Talk about how the goal is to get to 33%, I think, of integration by the year 2030. We're sitting in 2019, and that mix is at less than 5%. Will we reach that target, Niveshen?
This is the interesting part, Tembekile. So the integrated resource plan is a policy here in South Africa. So it's an enabling policy for renewable energy. It quotes us almost 6,000 megawatts of PV within utility scale, so that's large scale plants, and an additional 6,000 in embedded generation, which is majority attributed to solar PV. These targets are easy to meet. The problem is that it's so regulated that industry is unable to move. We have hurdles that are slow and long processes that are bureaucratic by nature and doesn't allow industry or sector to put forward their solutions.
We got news today, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, from the Energy Minister, Gwede. He's about to begin a process, of course, that will see the release of further energy resources into the mix as a result of the worsening load shedding situation. Do you think that you as an industry have the minister's ear on this issue, given that we've seen so many delays in moving the ball on this?
Yes and no. So in that statement that came out today, he speaks about a Section 34 determination for the Renewable Energy Procurement Program, and we are all in support of that, and we are waiting for that for a long time between a number of technologies of renewable energy. And I say no when it comes to their opportunities that are ripe right now. So with regards to small-scale embedded generation, a large number of megawatts can get on the grid very quickly and at no cost to government, but it's regulated so much that we are unable to do that. So if government is able to relax those requirements to put up these megawatts, we could do a lot more, a lot quicker.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you guys at the end of the day are an industry, you're businesses. How much of the messaging that you're putting out as to this option, this energy option, is driven by a hunger for profit?
I think very little. So when you come down to distributed energy, it's distributed. It's exactly what it is. The nature of the game is more businesses get to play in a lot more energy or a lot more megawatts being put onto the grid. So there's opportunities for all within this sector. So as much as we do represent business, I think it's time for us to put all of this behind us and do what's best for South Africa at the moment. At the moment, we have an energy crisis. At the moment, renewable energy can provide solutions. At the moment, we can do it at least cost or no cost to government, and we can do it fairly quickly. Why not?
We're trying to phase out in South Africa, but we know it's not going to happen overnight. We're trying to phase out substations or power stations that rely on coal, that rely on diesel, because the consideration there is the environment and generating as much power as possible. Solar, yes, has been a buzzword for the better part of the last decade. But what is its lifespan in a world where we're dealing with a changing climate, there are advances in technology? So if I'm going to invest in solar, how long will that take us as a country and as an individual before the next best thing comes along?
So very early on, solar PV had adapted to long lifespans. We looked at 20 years, 25-year spans initially. As technology evolved, we're now looking at 30 years, 35 years. As technology advances, we'll be looking at longer time frames. With regards to payback periods, if that's what we're getting at, for a home system, within 7 years you can have payback on a solar PV installation, and thereafter you have free energy for the remainder 23 years. So there is feasibility with this kind of technology.
Niveshen, thank you so much for your time tonight.